Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's a great big shout out that I have to make to Alyssa in Texas, who used our for sale by owner e-bowl system to take 2 listing appointments this week. And in preparation for those 2 listing presentations, she was kind of going through Customer First, and she was going through the Bulletproof Listing Presentation classes on demand. And she's really kind of decided to move from being a buyer's agent to being a listing agent. She sent out 110 first letters from eBowl and got 2 listing appointments. That's a nice return on investment. She also sent 63 letters to expireds and got 1 more listing presentation. So we know from Florida, New Jersey, New England, the Mid-Atlantic states, all the way up and down the Eastern Seaboard in North Carolina and South Carolina, that we know these letters work very, very well. I want to encourage you to dig into eBowl, dig into the expired listing courses, and get to know those letters, because I don't know what the reason is right now. I think it has something to do with the new technology age, but these letters are getting opened and read. And that means that the conversion rates are higher than they were 10 years ago, not lower. They're actually higher conversion rates. So I would just encourage you in your market to look into the eBowl and expired listing marketplace. All this is sponsored by Annie Mac Home Mortgage. You can get to know us better on AnnieMacWorks.com. This is the Customer First Professional Designation, and this is part 2 of 3. That means we got together once already and talked about the voice of the customer. Today we're going to dig deep into the 6-step sales standard. Try to say that 5 times fast. 6-step sales standard is all about kind of a 2-all beef patty, special sauce, onions, cheese, lettuce on a sesame seed bun system that anyone in any market can follow to engage their consumer differently. I don't know about you, but I think it's important to differentiate ourselves as residential real estate agents, and I think it is important for your income to study America's most admired companies and ask yourself, if you were buying or selling a home, would you conceivably see a difference between the brands? In the hearts and minds of the consumer, is it just likability and trust that is built with the individual agent that picks which brand you go with? I would like to challenge you or encourage you to be the change you want to see in the industry, to identify the void and to hear what consumers want, and then to enunciate that change to your consumers. What will happen is you'll transcend traditional MLS relationships. You'll transcend traditional buyer-seller relationships, and you'll start to become a consumer engagement professional. And I'll bet you end up making more money, because if your clients are recommending you and arguing that you're the best and saying, you got to get Russ, you got to get Grace, you've got to get Nancy. You know, if they're arguing with their friends and family that you're the best realtor and they're excited and proud because you are different, your income goes through the roof. During step 1, we acknowledged and started to reach an understanding of the customer's own process. Knowing their process and concerning yourself with where they're at in their process, concerning yourself with the right pace. And isn't bedside manner about empathy? You know, I was so fortunate to have an OBGYN to deliver 3 children for me. I wasn't actively participating in the delivery, but I was a stander by, and the OBGYN had the most sincere empathy and bedside manner of any person I've ever known. we reached a point with the delivery of my third child that it became a crucial, vital, urgent situation, and tears were flowing and anxieties were high. And I've never met anyone in the smooth bursts or the one that was dangerous that was more sincere and empathetic about his bedside manner. Now, this is one of the most busy OBGYNs in Broward County. He does all the Dolphins, he does all the Panthers, he does all the Heat. He's famous OB. But it's his empathy and his bedside manner that makes his practice so thriving. Just consider this deciding, discussing, qualifying, all the risks, all the searching, all the negotiating. Consider it as an emotional decision as the birth of a child. Consider it as life-altering as the 9 months of pregnancy and leading up to labor. If you could, I really did study this guy, and I became a raving fan of this particular gentleman. His name is Jay Cohen, and I believe he might have delivered Chips. I know he delivered Carrie's kids as well. This is a guy who really understands consumer engagement. Think of the purchase of a home or the sale of a home with the same magnitude as you could think of something as significant as a career retirement or the birth of a child or someone going away to college, because those are lifestyle transformative experiences in the life cycle of the person who's doing that. I don't know if this is hitting a nerve with you, but it absolutely hits a nerve with me that I believe that the 1.2 million real estate agents in the United States, the lion's share of them never quite comprehend the magnitude of purchasing a home, the magnitude of making a decision to sell a home and move a home. Because if you did, you'd be much more empathetic, you'd be much more nurturing, you'd take more time, you'd be more careful, you'd have more verbal dialogue with your sellers about the process and reaching and understanding and empathizing with their process. I think you'd also address their fears, because there's a lot of fears leading up to childbirth, and a great OB sits and talks about them with their clients or their patients. You need to talk about the fear that they may have about their agent or about money or about rushing. And when you address these concerns, you all of a sudden become a different kind of agent to them. You're an agent that cares about them. You're an agent that's putting them first, understanding and empathizing with their aspirations and their fears. My greatest soapbox after 28 years, I guess goal setting, written goals, is probably my number one soapbox, because I meet people all over the country that say they want something, but it's not very specific. I want to make more money. Be better too. But they're not very specific. There's no vigor to it, you know? So written goals is always my number one. But number two is certainly presentation. I know from listing and selling and closing 3,500 homes over the last 30 years that the most rewarding customer experience begins when you spread out all this stuff on the table and you start to talk about what their priorities are, what kind of a timeline would they like to follow, what are their past experiences with buying and selling homes. Talk a little bit about your most recent experiences helping people buy and sell homes. It gives you a chance to build credibility with rapport and respect, to reach a mutual understanding and mutual appreciation. We're going to talk a little bit today about that 6-step sales standard and how you can manifest it in your local market. Before we go on, I just want to highlight what that first home study could become for you. The first home study assignment for Customer First was the act of sending out customer satisfaction surveys. And we give you a step-by-step process to follow to send out post-closing satisfaction surveys. Now imagine I'm walking into your home and I'm sitting down at your kitchen table with you and your significant other. And part of the experience is that I hand over a stack of, say, 40 past customer satisfaction surveys. I have them in a leather binder, and it says satisfaction surveys, and I leave it on the table with you when I leave. And I say, I'm going to leave this with you. If you have a chance to look it over, I would certainly appreciate it. It has some phone numbers in it of some of my past customers. It has some email addresses of my past customers. And you can, all of them have given permission for you to call them and ask them how I perform in the keeping promises and delivering an exceptional level of service. See, if I could have a binder that has all my past customer satisfaction surveys, and there's many of them that say excellent and I will use again, proud to refer, I will use again, and then there's some of them that are handwritten, and there's written acknowledgments of certain things about our business. There's a tremendous amount of third-party testimonial in these satisfaction surveys. On a selfish basis, I like to learn what my customers think of me so that I can adopt or adapt to their needs. And that's what the voice of the customer is all about. What did I move too fast? Was my car too dirty? Did I use language that they didn't understand? Was I too technical? Was I too fast? All that can be learned by asking the customer what they thought. Now, you might get a pen out, but you can download this PowerPoint slideshow at the Customer First website, and you can use this checklist to know if you've done a Customer First level sales standard. It starts with a pre-client interview, which is kind of an intake interview that we do with all of our buyers and sellers. It moves to a pre-appointment drop-off. So if I know that a buyer or a seller is going to be coming into my office on Thursday, then on Wednesday or Thursday morning, I'm going to drop something off to them if I can. I don't really want it to be via email if I can help it, because it's more tangible when it's delivered in an envelope to them, and they make a greater emotional connection to the pre-appointment drop-off. Today we're going to focus on the seller side preparation, but the third step to the 6-step sales standard is proper preparation and knowing what to do to prepare yourself for a buyer or a seller. Today's conversation, we're going to focus mostly on the seller. And the reason we do that is because, first of all, I believe sellers are exponentially more valuable than buyers. Second, we do a series of classes that are coming up in July on the buyer side transaction, and a lot of those reflect. We were on the pre-client interview, and there's some really important litmus test reasons why we do a pre-client interview. During a pre-client interview, I can determine the temperature of my prospective client. Is he or she hot to trot, or is he or she cold as ice? Is he or she motivated? And here's a big key. Is he or she open and forthcoming with dialogue? A pre-client interview is the ultimate time saver for the real estate agent, and it gives the impression of someone who is thorough with their professional opinion. So it says, I'm doing some preparation for our appointment tomorrow. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to help me with some of the details. I want to make sure that my data is accurate. I usually invest a couple of hours of research doing research to really help justify the highest possible price that we can ever. What is the age of your roof? What is the age of your air conditioning systems? Compared to the rest of the neighborhood, would you say that your flooring is average or above average or below average? How about your kitchen cabinets and countertops? Again, strictly compared to the rest of your neighbors in your neighborhood, do you feel it's average, above average, or below average? Now the seller says, well, we redid our kitchen, but we didn't do the countertop. Whatever, you're getting dialogue flowing, open flow of communications. Okay, how about the bathrooms, especially the master bathroom? Do you feel like it's average, above average, and below average? And please explain why. Is there anything I should know about your lot? I could tell from the previous MLS listing that was there when you bought the house that it's an oversized lot, but what's really special about your lot that's going to help me justify the highest possible price? Is there a special view? Is there any water on the lot? Is there a golf course? And on and on. Well, that sounds like I have enough information about the house and the property. I'm looking forward to spending some time together tomorrow night. Can I ask you before I hang up, is there anything in particular that is important to you that I make sure I prepare for tomorrow night? See, we're just slowing down the pace a little bit. What do you feel like is the most important thing that we're going to accomplish tonight? What's the most important thing that you want to make sure we accomplish tomorrow night? So when we successfully sell your home, do you already know where you'll be relocating to? Would you plan on buying a home right away, or do you think you might rent for a year? And in a perfect world, when would you like to make this move? She says August. She says September. She says before the holidays. He says right now. I really need to move soon. Whatever he says or she says, that sounds perfect. I think you're allowing the appropriate amount of time to make everything very convenient. I'll bet you we can make this a very stress-free process. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And I always take a second and confirm that both decision makers are going to be in the room. If I'm taking the time to do 4 hours worth of research, pre-client interview, and all the preparation that I'm going to do, it's because I comprehend the gravity of this upcoming conversation. If they don't comprehend the gravity of this upcoming conversation, then I don't need to do all the labor that's leading up to it. In other words, if both decision makers aren't going to be there, I can't get a listing agreement signed anyway. So I'm not necessarily going to invest a tremendous amount of time. Now, we talked about pre-appointment drop-off. This is the second step of the 6-step sales standard. And this is, dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, our entire organization is looking forward to serving you toward the successful sale of your home at 1403 Broadmoor. As we plan our visit tomorrow evening, we hope that you will have time to review the attached material on our marketing strategy. The initiative outlined herein is simply one of the many differentiators that have accelerated XYZ real estate success rate in selling homes just like yours. I'm looking forward to showing you how our technology-driven platform aggressively markets your property towards the highest possible price. In that, I would include the MyWork Suite text autoresponder conversation. I would include Realtor.com. I would include whatever my brand or my brokerage puts their best foot forward as far as their digital marketing or their national marketing strategy and their referral network. I would further include features of the QR code and text autoresponders for MyWork Suite. The last thing that I want to include in my pre-appointment drop-off is a color listing brochure. It literally takes about 5 minutes. I'm going to make $14,000 on the listing side commission on this house, and I'm probably going to sell 2 buyers from the sign calls that come in from this, and I'm probably going to do a just listed, just sold listing in the neighborhood because of this listing. I probably got somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000 in commission dollars associated with this listing. It is the misunderstanding about the gravity of this situation which makes underperforming realtors underperform. if I win this listing, it's going to be worth 50 grand, not 14,000. The 14 is just the listing side commission. So taking 5 minutes to put together a full color brochure that I can drop off before I go visit the house. Now, all these brochures are available for you to download. I'm sure your brokerage has full color brochures that they can use. We provide these templates for you if you'd like. Guess what, guys? The MLS has the old pictures. If the Realtor.com doesn't have the old pictures, if the expired listing doesn't have the old pictures, if their own for sale by owner brochure doesn't have the old pictures, swing by and take a couple pictures. It's not going to kill you to spend 15, 20 minutes to make 50 grand. It's not just the listing side commission that's at stake here. It's all the sign calls that come from the listing sign. It's all the Craigslist responses that come from the Craigslist posts. It's all the Realtor.com responses. It's all the sellers that see you as a credible realtor. This is a monumental opportunity for you. 50 grand. Now we move to preparation. If the real estate business were made up of employees instead of independent contractors, then there would be a lot less people that were broke in the business. Because if someone was an employee, I could require of them that they prepared for the appointment the same way I did. So there's a list of the things on the left-hand side that are kind of the common checklist that you would need to bring to a listing presentation. A full-service CMA or BPO is mandatory, meaning you dug deep into analyzing the highest possible price for that home and appraising it properly. I would call my lender and I would get a Annie Mac home mortgage loan analyzer for the sale of their property. I want to show them that their property right now is very affordable on the mortgage market, but the Fed's saying that they're going to raise the rates in the next 3 or 6 months, and if they do raise the rates, that the house is going to probably be harder to sell. I'm going to bring all the listing agreements and addendums. I'm certainly going to bring some sort of a PowerPoint or listing book that shows them who I am as a person and a company, and in that I mean my past customer satisfaction surveys and any marketing materials I have. All the collateral printed material about myself and my company, and if there's a short sale involved, I certainly need to bring that short sale addendum. But this is where the customer first associate goes above and beyond, and I hope you not only acknowledge it, but I really hope that you try it once. I don't even ask you to trust me. I just want you to try it once and see what the texture of the listing conversation feels like. I go on Realtor.com and I pull up single family homes or townhomes or villas or condos, whatever they said they were looking for, in the communities that they said they were thinking about moving to. And then I print those properties on 8.5 by 11 sheets, and I try to focus on some exceptional deals or some unique houses, and I try to show them what's available in that local marketplace. So if they told me that they were moving from Scottsdale, Arizona down to New Mexico, I would want to know about where in New Mexico, and I would also want to know, like, are you probably going to be buying a house? Are you going to be renting for a little while? And then I would do the destination search on Realtor.com. When I'm on Realtor.com, I can print 3 realtors from Realtor.com, and I could send them referral fees before I ever go. What if you had a referral fee of 25% coming from the house they were buying? When the chandelier came into question at closing, or the deal was $500 apart, would I be more pliable if I knew I had the 25% referral fee on the way back? And could I even make that concession contingent upon the referral fee? Yes, I can, because I'm an independent contractor. I can do whatever I want. Destination associate referrals is a jaw dropper for sellers, because imagine you were a for sale by owner, and I came to your home and I pulled up destination properties in Taal, New Mexico, and I gave you 3 realtors in Taal, New Mexico. Isn't there some unconscious understanding reached when you're going to shop with a realtor in town, New Mexico, but you think that buyers aren't shopping with realtors here in Scottsdale? Is there some sort of an aha moment that can happen for a for sale by owner or an expired listing when they say, well, of course I'm going to shop with a realtor when I go to town, New Mexico. It doesn't make sense not to. I could see 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 homes with a local expert, or I can go buy owner to buy owner to buy owner. If I go buy owner to buy owner to buy owner, why would I do that? Because I'd want to save money. I'd want to get a cheaper house. So now all of a sudden the buy owner starts to recognize that the only reason a consumer would shop a buy owner is to offer less money. See, two people can't save the same commission, can they? And a reality light bulb goes off for a seller because I went above and beyond and I pulled up Destination Properties on Realtor.com and I gave them an associate referral where they're heading. I called Andy Mac and I got a destination purchase loan analyzer. So I pulled up houses that were $250,000 because that's what they said they wanted to buy. And I showed them what? That their new house was going to cost them $1,340 a month. They're spending $3,100 a month where they are. If they get to town, New Mexico, and they buy a house for $250, they're going to be at $1,300 a month. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's right there on paper. Is there a second aha moment that goes off for a seller? Here's what the aha moment says. I'm holding out for an extra $13,000 in Scottsdale when I could be in my new house in town spending $1,350 a month? God, this is ridiculous. I'm wasting time, wasting energy, trying to hold out for this stupid $10,000 extra on my price when what I should be doing is selling my darn house and getting down to the affordable home that I want to be in. Even people who are moving up in price recognize the affordability index right now. In fact, if you were selling a 5-bedroom home for $400,000, then you could say, look, if you don't move fast, interest rates go up a point, all of a sudden you're staring at an extra $200 a month on this house. Why don't we buy now while the affordability index is at an all-time low? The last couple pieces for the preparation are a consumer engagement presentation, which we're going to go over. Every company across the country has to have a different marketing presentation, so it's impossible for us to dictate your marketing presentations, but I can certainly show you some examples. And then last but not least, some vehicle to review price and professional services, and I save that for the end. I never talk about price and commissions with a consumer until I've been through my presentation. It's all about taking positive professional control of the relationship. So the sentence at the bottom says, if you prepare a loan analyzer and Destination Properties for where they're hoping to move to, then you're really getting it. Then you're truly putting the customer first. Now, not every customer has to buy another house. Maybe it's a landlord, or maybe it's a vacation home, and they don't have to buy another house. But whenever there's an opportunity, even with a rental, they say, well, we want to rent for a year once we get down to town, New Mexico. Well, by God, pull up the rentals. Go to Rent Links. Go to Apartment Finders. Go to Realtor.com and pull up rentals and bring some sample rentals to the customer, for goodness sake. Now, I never spend more than 5 minutes on the consumer engagement presentation with a client, but I really just rattle through a couple of the ideas of what makes me different as a real estate agent. So this is the fourth step of the 6-step sales standard that makes a customer first associate. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as you know, our brokerage has been in this marketplace for 25 years. We've helped families buy houses. We've helped families sell houses all over Collier County, all over Maricopa County for the past 25 years. And over the last 6 or 7 years, we've had to become expert at facilitating short sales as well. each of the different types of clients that we work with in here in Maricopa County all are heading to the same result, and that is a closing table where everyone leaves satisfied financially and with the transaction. What's interesting is over the last several years in residential real estate, I've worked for a couple of these other firms, and all of our performance was measured by production. But the reason I decided to work with this brokerage, the reason I decided to work with ABC Realty, is because they also measure production, but their emphasis is on customer satisfaction and customer excitement. One of the differences that this brokerage teaches, trains, and coaches their agents is that you're going to do a lot more production if the emphasis is focused on putting the customer first and truly measuring the level of satisfaction that every consumer has. We discovered that in today's market, that the average MLS listing agreement doesn't provide the level of services that a seller is expecting in this type of a marketplace. In other words, what we learned is that sellers had a greater expectation than just putting the house in the MLS and putting our feet up. So the average realtor leaves a house on the market 4 to 6 months in the MLS, and the customer, the seller, is frequently disappointed. When we started to look at the consumer's expectations and measuring their satisfaction comparative to what they expected, we reached a great place called consumer excitement. Now, the coolest thing for our company nationwide is that consumer excitement translates into a multiplier of customers. And I want to share with you this because I was a real estate agent for a long time, and at my other brokerages, we were actually trained to spend 10 to 15% of our time servicing our current clients, and 75 to 80% of our time prospecting for new business. At Prudential, at Caldwell, at ERA, at Century 21, we were actually trained to invest the lion's share of our week prospecting for new clients, and only a very small percentage of our week, somewhere between 75 somewhere between 25 and 15% of our time servicing the clients we have. The most refreshing thing about our brokerage that I work for now is our broker teaches, trains, and coaches us to spend 80-90% of our time servicing our existing customer base, and only a very small amount of our time prospecting for new business. Now, why this is so pivotal for me as a real estate agent is because I have more clients now doing it this way. I spend more of my time working with my existing clients. Our relationship is going to be a big part of every day of the next 4 months. How many times have you heard a seller say, they listed my house and I didn't hear from them for 2 weeks. I didn't hear from them once a week. I got an email and that was it. That's why the real estate industry is broken. And the last thing that I'm so proud about this brokerage, and the reason I work for this brokerage, is every single closing, my broker reviews our professional evaluation. Now, this is a document that you fill out at the closing, and believe you me, there are penalties for poor evaluations and there are perks and rewards for great evaluations. Now, when I was at blah 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 real estate, they only measured us on production. So the top producer at my old office sold about 40 homes a year. His customer satisfaction was abysmal. Like 50% of the people that he closed were satisfied with his service. But he was always getting the trophies. He was always getting the plaques. He was always getting the awards. At our company, you get awards and recognition for professional evaluation, not just production. And I feel very strongly about this broker. When I moved to a marketing presentation, I want to show a seller where buyers are coming from in this calendar year. That 43% of all of the buyer inquiries that we receive in our office come directly from the internet, and that the lion's share of the balance, 33%, so a total of 76% of the consumers that we sell houses to either came from the internet or a direct agent referral. Only 9% of the closings that our company does come from yard signs. A small percentage come from friends, builders, sellers, and only a couple of percentile come from the newspaper anymore or from print advertising. So our company is very, very progressive from a technology standpoint. We manage traffic reports on a regular basis to identify where the consumers are coming from so we can put the most emphasis on those sources of buyer inquiries. One of the things that we're going to do for your house is we're going to prepare a single property website. That means that your house is going to have its own domain name, it's going to have its own website, and that consumers can visit that website by several different channels. I want you to take a moment and text P120 to the number 54561. And now I actually stop with my seller and I pick up, hopefully they'll pick up their cell phone, but if I pick up my cell phone, if they're not going to, and I'll punch in P120 to 5456. What's incredible about the technology today using QR codes and text autoresponders is that, let's face it, I might be at my son's soccer game on Saturday at 1 o'clock, and a buyer might drive by your house and call on the sign. Well, because of smart lead capture, I not only capture their name, but if they text or QR scan, I get the IP address of their smartphone, and I can reach them via text and or telephone. So I'm actually able to have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week presence in capturing those leads. Now, what does the buyer get? The buyer gets this whole single property website to explain all the features, advantages, and benefits of your home. The other thing that we do that my old brokerages didn't do is we're very, very aggressive about learning what the buyers thought about your home and what they bought instead of your home. What this feedback does is it gives us real world data as to how our listing is comparing to the rest of the listings in the marketplace. And it gives us a sense of personal responsibility to where we fit in the marketplace. There's no doubt that we're going to show your house a couple times a week on average, and during those showings, we like to understand what the consumer thought and what they bought instead of your house. We use a technology called property feedback that goes directly out to the showing agent electronically after the showing, and we're able to gather that information. The last piece of our marketing that I want to talk to you about is our Realtor.com relationship. Probably, other than the mobile apps and the single property websites, the second most important thing that we can do as a company is to feature your property in Realtor.com. Almost 7 million visitors a month visit Realtor.com, and some of those homes that I showed you in town, New Mexico, are from Realtor.com. What's interesting is that I can now print a report for you to show you how many clicks your home got. Now, don't fall asleep on me, realtors, because I'm getting somewhere. If I can determine how many clicks I got and how many page views I got, then I can see how that translated to showings. So if I see a property on the market that's having 1,100 clicks, but it's not having any showings, that means that the property is being perceived as far overpriced or not good comparison to other properties that are available. Meanwhile, if I see 400 clicks and 50 virtual tour views and it's translating to 10 showings, then I can bet you that my house is right in the sweet spot and it's being very well compared to other houses. Too often, my real estate agents will allow the seller to blame them for not being able to sell their house. My home hasn't been shown this week. My home hasn't been shown this week. 2 weeks without a showing. You said you were going to get 2 showings a week. Now you're only getting 2 a month. With Realtor.com click technology and the review of it and setting up the responsibility properly from the beginning, we can now monitor how the market at large is perceiving the value of your home. If we're seeing a high number of clicks and a very low number of showings, you can guarantee that they're picking other houses to go see instead of yours. Whereas if they're picking your house to show more frequently on showings, you are getting a very high conversion rate on your click-throughs. I can only list these. I can't go through them too terribly accurate, but target advertising on Facebook has become the quintessential differentiator for top real estate agents in the country. If I'm in Florida and I'm advertising New York, New Jersey, New England, Toronto, Quebec, and Latin America, my sellers know that I am a cutting-edge realtor. If I'm in Scottsdale and Phoenix and I'm advertising in Montreal and Quebec and all over Canada, then my sellers know that I'm hot stuff. Conversation monitor on Twitter, you can learn that on your own. PickSeat virtual tours is huge. Forbes.com domestic migration is huge, and obviously having your staging expert designation through AndyMac Works is a big deal. I want to take a second just to show you how the migration chart works on Forbes.com. If you go to Forbes.com and type in the word domestic migration, they will show you which counties are sending the highest number of buyers to your county. So in South Florida, for example, we can see that more we did Prince George County, Bowie, Maryland here, and all the blue is going into the county and all the red is going out. So you see how all those halfbacks are coming back from the Northeast? They're going up to New England, New York, and New Jersey, and they're moving down to the Mid-Atlantic states. So we know if we target those homeowners in the New England states or in Tacoma, Washington, that we're getting a high number of probability of people who are moving to the Mid-Atlantic states. The sixth step, we went through marketing. We went through 5 other steps. Now we're going to close on a small, very short dissertation on reviewing professional broker price opinions and the broker commission structure. Never ever shy away from your fee conversation. I use an estimated net proceeds sheet that I do the math to show them if I sell your house for $299 and we charge this much commission, broker fee, transaction fee, doc stamps, whatever the closing costs in your market are, that this would be your net. And there is a very artistic way to present that seller's estimated net proceeds. We get into that during the Bulletproof Listing presentation class. Chip Isabella handles our unique selling proposition class, and we do another course called The Essence of a CMA. You can get better at CMAs, you can get better at BPOs, and you can get better at presenting estimated net proceeds if you attend those AndyMac Works classes that are entitled below. Just don't shy away from fees. Never apologize for a fee, and always look a seller in the eye, and when they say, could you do better, say no. These are our fees. I feel very confident we're going to get your house sold and closed. I bet you're going to be out of your house by August, and I feel very confident that we can get you the highest possible price. 6-step sales standard boils down to pre-client interview, pre-appointment drop-off, proper preparation, which we went through an enormous checklist of items to properly prepare for that $50,000 opportunity, a very brief, personal conversation about why you selected the broker that you went to work for and how you could have chose to work for any other broker and why this one is so different and special and how it works with consumer engagement issues and customer satisfaction issues over production issues. Number 5 is a marketing presentation. Certainly got a hit on Realtor.com. Certainly better hit on mobile property websites and Smart Lead Capture, since it's free with AndyMac Works. And then last but not least, never shy away from pricing conversations and debates, and never shy away from professional services. If you do the 6-step sales standard, you will have less pushback on pricing and professional services. If you get into price on a house and commissions on a house before you've done the 6-step sales standard, you will have a much lesser influence on the seller's decision making. You have to build your credibility and rapport first before you can influence decision making. So the customer first credo just simply says, being a customer first associate means I put my customer first. My long-term success is rooted in relationships which I serve towards their aspirations, their goals. Putting my customer first ensures my success and the continued success of my organization. I'm proudly a customer first associate. Big thank you to Annie Mac Works for part 2 of the 3-part series. We're going to get together one more time for part 3, and during that window, we're going to focus on the 6-step service standard. So you've made all these glorious promises about how you're a customer-first realtor and how you really focus on customer satisfaction. Now what are you going to do to deliver those promises and really step up during the next 90 days, 120 days, 180 days that you're in this listing relationship? How are you going to service this customer to a professional standard that is above and beyond the average realtor? And how can you provide that exceptional level of world-class service? And that's what the 6-step service standard is all about. Thanks again for being here. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick. Please reach out and thank your Annie Mac Home Mortgage representatives, and maybe think about throwing them a pre-qual or a loan app